As much as we all like to rip on men, this is time to take some accountability.
I'm going to let an incel explain Project 2025 to y'all.
Okay.
We have a bunch of incels in the White House now, and this is how they think. So let me just make it very clear. This is the reason that Project 2025 is happening. Let's read it together. This was posted in the Natalism subreddit by an incel. And he says that birth rate can never be fixed. It is just female nature. The birth rate can never be fixed without rolling back women's rights. No, I'm not suggesting this, just playing devil's advocate. I could do an hour-long dissertation on this first sentence just to begin with, but I won't. Women have always married sideways and up in terms of social status. Also not true, but that's okay. When women can work and make their own money, they will want a man who makes the same or more. This is just nature. Money doesn't exist in nature, sir, but that's okay. A lot of men are simply not going to make the standard of today. True. You need to know that incels realize this. A lot of incels realize they're not going to make the cut to mate with a woman and to create for themselves a quote unquote legacy. And they're really mad about it because they feel entitled to it. You know where there is a high birth rate? Poor women. Poor women have a lot of men who will make the cut. That's why poor people have more babies. They're not picky. They're not thinking about going to college and then finding a husband who makes as much as them. They don't care about all of that. They're fine being poor. Women in the past couldn't work, or the most she could aspire to is being a secretary. They needed a man to survive. Today, they can put off marriage and kids and even settle when they're 30 plus or never settle. Really saying the quiet part out loud, right? Why would she settle at 21 and have 4 babies with some loser when she can get a career and find a winner at 30 who makes the same as her?
You serious?
Did you just hear the stupidity of what she just said? She's like, why should women in their 20s have kids in their prime with loser men, apparently? Instead, you can just have a career, go and get your education, and find a man in your 30s. Isn't that the dumbest advice to give to women? So the women in their 20s, aren't they not in their physical prime? What do men want? A woman in their physical prime. Why would a successful man, a high-value man, want the 30-year-old when he could have had the 20-year-old version of her? This is just bad advice.
All this talk about doing this and that to fix the birth rate is ridiculous. You will never convince a woman who has innate talent to not have a career and then find a husband who also has a career. So ladies, just so y'all know, this is the game plan. This is Project 2025, right? They want to trap you with these loser men's babies.
Gotcha, bitch!
And they know, these men themselves know that they are losers. They know that they are not making the cut otherwise. They know that they're not making the cut unless women are in dire economic poverty conditions. That is the only time they're going to be able to trap and saddle a woman with 4 children, even though they're a loser, a poor, broke loser. And they're saying that.
So she calls men incels, but isn't she an incel herself? Look how she's behaving. She's calling all men losers, this, that. So you basically don't want to procreate. You don't want to have sex with men. So you're the incel. Anytime a girl calls somebody an incel, I'm just thinking projection, because you're a misandrist. Nobody's going to have sex with you. You're too stiff.
Quiet part out loud. They're saying that if women could go their own way, they would, right? All this red pill talk about it's men that go their own way. Women are always trying to trap us. What is this then? Men know damn well.
How is this a trap when he's explaining the declining birth rates? She is the slowest person out here. She'll take a headline like that and she'll somehow twist it in a way where men are trying to trap women. How about it says declining birth rates? Do you not understand what that means? So slow.
Well, that they're the ones that need to trap women. And that's why we have Project 2025 coming down the pike. Because a lot of these capitalist, loser, incel men, the only reason that any women pay attention to them is because they have money. Well, in order to keep making money, guess what they need? They need there to be more people. They need women to be popping out 4 kids or more. So these rich incels have come up with a plan.
Rich incels. I honestly think she doesn't even know what the word incel means. She's just talking, bro.
And it basically boils down to this. The incel thinking, this type of incel thinking is the highest level of thinking that a lot of men are even capable of. They're not going to go above this. They're not going to be asking the real questions. They're just gonna look at something and then think, how do I force it? How do I conquer it? How do I make it do what I want it to do? And they don't view us.
Where did she get this train of thought from? Do men sit around thinking, how can I manipulate it? How could I take advantage? We don't think like that. What books are you reading? What movies are you watching to have your mind so warped? We don't think like that.
As people, they're viewing us as baby making machines. Like, you got to put the machine in a different gear. You got to put it into the poverty gear, right? Otherwise it's not going to want to pop out babies. Got to put the machine in a state of poverty.
They hate God and they hate their design. Baby popping machines. Ma'am, you produce babies. Okay? I don't know why you're so against that process, but that's nature. You have a womb. You give birth to babies. And it seems like that's your duty. That's your job. Why are you guys running away from it? Why are you running away from being a woman? It just makes you guys look so stupid.
And then the machine won't be picky. This is exactly why they're rolling back our rights. Like, I'm telling y'all, these men sat down and they said, we need the worker bees, we need the consumers, we need the warehouse employees, we need people's children so we can send them to war. Otherwise, this whole system falls apart without women, and without women being forced to be indiscriminate, or without women being forced into poverty conditions, with a lack of sex education, with a lack of knowledge of their own rights, lacking knowledge of their own power. That is the only way that women are going to continue doing what men want them to do.
Doing what men want them to do? But don't you want the world to continue? So what is it that you want ultimately? You want the world to end? Because what this article is saying is we need more children to sustain life. And what you're trying to say is we need to take our power back and have control over this thing, and they can't, like, what do you, so you want the world to end?
They're not going to know any better. And that's why they need their rights rolled back, because if women were given the same levels of freedom as men, a lot of women would simply opt out of dating men, marrying men, having kids with men.
See the stupidity there? Get the same freedom as men. What freedom are you talking about? Women are free to do whatever they want to do. Could you please name me some of these freedoms that men have over women? I'm waiting.
Would want to have the same kind of freedom as a man, to have and pursue a career, to make a lot of money in their lifetime, to settle down when they're 30 or older. That's what women would choose. As most men do not make a good mating partner. They don't make a good husband, father, partner, any of those things.
They want to be men so badly. Why can't you just be a woman and understand you're a woman? You're not on the same time clock as us. Okay? Men can put off family to later because we can bust nuts till the day we die. But women have a biological time clock. You can't play the same game as a man can play. Just be a woman and stay in your lane. What's so hard about that?
So when women become educated and when they get a taste of that freedom that only men have historically had access to, women start to realize why men have always been so insistent on trapping them with marriage and children and poverty. And then making all of that seem like a gift that the man gave you.
She's acting like women don't want family. She's acting like women don't want kids and only men want kids. Like, where is this false tale come from? Where is all the men lining up saying, I want to be dads, I want to be husbands? It's a woman thing. Women want the marriage. Women want the wedding. Okay, so what are you talking about? So we're trapping you into something that you dreamed while you were a little girl? All little girls dream of marriage, wedding, having babies. Where's the part where we come in and trap you with these thoughts? Are you okay in your brain?
Gave me babies. Oh, he lets me stay home and take care of the kids. Oh, he provides for us. Ma'am, he has figured out that that is in fact the only way to trap a woman and have her doing his bidding, supporting his career, supporting all of his moves, raising his children, leaving him a legacy. Because
his children, that's not a woman's child too? So women don't want to have children. Is that what you're saying?
mind you, you, they're going to have his last name. So men have just figured out how to skin us alive, right? Now that we've caught on to the fact that that's wrong and we don't want to be skinned alive anymore, they're like, see, we need to get you back into a time when you couldn't escape being skinned alive.
Skinned alive? What is she even talking about? Skinned alive?
Couldn't escape being used as a baby making machine when you had to, when you would believe any lie that somebody would tell you because you are young, naive, living in poverty, you're uneducated, and you'll believe anything that anybody tells you.
She's basically saying all the women in the poor countries are dumb, uneducated idiots that don't know what they're doing. Wow. She has privilege to the roof.
That's why they like gullible, uneducated women. The same reason that Trump likes uneducated people, because they don't ask too many questions. They just do as they're told. This is why Project 2025 is really happening. Like, it's definitely sinister. It's just not complicated. It's just not complicated. It's because the only way that men know how to do things is by force. And they don't actually want to ask themselves the real questions or admit to themselves they're hindering their own progress, their own evolution. They're hindering the human race in general by oppressing half or more of it. And all they care about is figuring out how to get what they want by force. So ladies, please stay safe out there. Protect your womb. Godspeed. I'm gonna let an in.
So she has to be the dumbest woman out there for real. I honestly, her and the next woman, the older one, both dumb as hell. She's trying to say that men trap women with babies so they can hold women back and further their own careers. Sounds dumb, right? Look how education and careers have warped the modern woman's mind. This is why most men don't like educated boss babes. They say the dumbest things like this woman here. Instead of analyzing the data and seeing how the birth rates affect the world, she brings it back to men trying to trap women. Do they really even care about the big picture? I want to know what their actual solutions to declining birth rates would be. There was a good question asked in the post. Would women roll back women's rights in hopes of saving the world? I think they wouldn't, because in their mind, women should always have a choice. All right, let's take a look at the comment section. I had a husband who earned 3 times less than me. I didn't care. He was insecure and treated me horribly. That's why I won't be with anyone who makes less than me again. Right. Okay. So we'll just take your word for it that he treated you horribly just for the fact that he was insecure about you making more money. Or maybe you were like this woman over here, talking down to men always. Good luck trying to find a man that has your financial level. In another video, you said it didn't even take us one lifetime to surpass them. And this illustrated that beautifully. What illustrated what? But how did you surpass who and what? What's the metrics of surpassing? Are you talking about more money? Because men make more money than you guys. Are you talking about innovation? Men innovate way more than women. What is it that how have you surpassed us? You guys want the world to end? Like, what advancement is that? Look at this post. This man illustrated declining birth rates and how it can be fixed. But the woman's solution is, let's just let it all burn down. How is that advancement? How is that surpassing men? You guys are dumb if you guys think this is the way to go. On to the next.
Manifest my own destiny. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, the perfect recipe. May they remember me, my words will live on. I'm guided by an energy, a flame, hold it close to you. Check out my melodies. Is it the media that's been leading you? I'll show you a thing. Misdirection, what's the message? They don't want you to win.
As much as we all like to rip on men, this is time to take some accountability.